I never really see myself brave, but maybe because I come from the kind of family who the courage was a kind of part of DNA of my father, my mother, and they are warriors. They came from the Second World War in the ex-Yugoslavia, and the both of them became national heroes. So since childhood, I've been listening this story of bravery, and I was really thinking for me it was so important to kind of see what my limits are and how far I can go with my body. And then also it's really exciting. I think to something to do that is repetitive and something to do that you don't, see your own courage, I'm not interested. I really like to push the borders and limits of many different things. And for that, a very, very funny story. When I was about to walk the Great Wall of China, I called my father and I said to my father, I'm going to walk Great Wall of China. And he said to me, but why? And I say, because you walk Igman March. An Igman March is some kind of legendary story about the partisans escaping from the German invasion and crossing the very high mountain with two rivers with temperature of minus 35 Celsius. And only 200 people survived to come alive on the other side. And in these 200 people, there was my father. So I said to him, but you walk the Igman March, I want to walk the Chinese Wall. And he asked me again, but how long is this Chinese Wall walk? And I said to him, it's 3 months. And he said to me, do you know how long is the Igman March? I have no idea. For me, it was something forever. It was in every book, in every history, every film from our ex-Yugoslavia, the war stories. And he said, only one night. And that was the story. Now, to me, it was important that I create my own boundaries and my own things that I can show my courage. Performance is a time-based art, and you have to be present what happened, because that's really what the work happened. But then, it's once a time, and if you don't read performance, you have to record somehow, and then documentation is extremely important. I spend as much time of planning the work and having ideas about the work, and as much as time as planning how I'm going to the work document. Sometimes it's enough photograph work. If the work is static itself, then photography could work very well. But if work involves the sound and movement, in that case I will use video. And it's really important that video actually record real time. I'm always with real time, and I like very much static point of view of the camera, that the camera have one single frame and then record what's happening. And then this is the best possible, that the generation who didn't see original work can be confronted with documentation, because documentation have a sense of reality of the real work. My relation to technology is love and hate at the same time, because technology really is good for so many different things. But when it concerns the art, it doesn't really, the Instagram, social media and all other structures doesn't really actually do the good job. Because there's so many people who come with the camera to see the show, and they will take photographs before even to experience physically and emotionally what they see. And they will come home, and then you look the image, which is just a second of their own photo, the shoot. And that's kind of take away experience. And that's a really problem. This is for so many shows that I create. I would love that the people leave the camera, leave the computer, leave the watch away, and then come and experience the work itself. I mean, if you just take example, for me, when I was a child, I was only 14 years old, and I saw the San Marco Square in Venice, and I started crying just from emotions, how incredible, beautiful that was, on social media. This all actually experience of direct confrontation with the city, with architecture, is completely taken away, because you saw it already, you experienced already through other people's eyes. So this is the problem, that we actually we lost patience, and we lost the ability of direct contact with the art and the work. I really hate distinguish between a woman in art world and men in art world. That's already wrong, because the art don't have gender. There's only one art. Doesn't matter who is making it, man, woman, transgender, lesbians, African Americans, whoever. I don't care who makes this art. Which I care is if that art have content and if this art is good art or bad art. This is really important, because the moment you see me as a woman making art, you immediately isolate me into some kind of different group. I want to be in the same group with like everybody else. And my work is my work and doesn't have a gender. And I think that it's much more important what is my content and what I like to say, not as a woman, as an artist. And for me, it's very important that my work lifts human spirits and then, give the message. And that's what my work is about. And it doesn't matter who am I. I have to say, being in Italy and starting my international artistic career in Italy, I was the actually first woman in Italy doing art from ex-Yugoslavia here. Because you have incredible many great female artists, but you never give them possibility, exposure, and actually, the space to actually make the work. That was really a problem, especially in the 70s. I never forget Mario Merz and Marisa Merz. She's a great artist. She never had a really major show till actually Mario died. I mean, this is your problem, the relation of the woman art in Italian art scene.
Do you think there's been a kind of sort of evolution?
I think you're getting better, but not good enough. I discovered the human being, we are always in the same shit from the beginning till end of our civilization. We still have the wars, we're still killing each other, we still, have religions who hate each other, we still have a hunger, we still have poverty, we don't care about our planet and we are polluting it as much as possible. It's a mess. And this mess is repeating over and over again. We never learn lesson that we should learn one day to change ourselves and to learn to forgive to each other. So, nothing changed. Everything is happening over and over again. Only different names for different wars and different names for different politicians. But historically, it's the same. It's interesting that Joseph Beuys, who spent lots of time in Italy, was asked the same question in the 60s and 70s, if the art can change the world. And he was very, very confident that art can change the world. And I'm not as enthusiastic like he was. I don't think that art can change the world, but art can ask right questions, art can give the message, art can influence people to see the world differently. That's what we can do. But to change the world is something that we are not able. But talking about this exhibition, I'm really happy to be here. And this exhibition for me is like, in a way, a small retrospective of my work in so many different stages, in different periods of my life. Very early work, and then goes through the middle age, and then to the end. I like just to talk about also my last work, which Alabaster. It's very unexpected for me to do something physical, because my work is so immaterial. But it took me more than 7 years to actually think about the idea how I can present something immaterial in the material. And I didn't want to choose marble, because marble is so forever. And lots of artists work with marble even today, but I didn't want to touch that material. I chose alabaster because of fragility and transparency of alabaster itself, and the way how it's cut. So you see from far away the image is very clearly, but mostly when you slowly coming closer to the work who is hanging on the wall, you understand that everything is falling apart and presenting complete destruction. So I can actually succeed to create material work where life and death and destruction of the work itself is presented. Maria Callas is a long story. 14 years old, sitting in the grandmother kitchen and having breakfast, and we have old Bakelite radio always on, and then came the voice singing. I stand up in the middle of the kitchen and I start crying uncontrollably. I don't know why. The voice moves me so profoundly, And only after the music was finished, the radio speaker said, "You just listen to Maria Callas, the singing Casta Diva. I want to know everything about this woman and why she moved me so much." And from 14 years old, I had really obsession with Callas, and it went through my whole life. I never had a chance to meet her. I never had a chance to listen to her live, but I really will start following her life. And then when I had the heartbreak, I start remembering that actually Callas had a heartbreak, and that heartbreak she died. And I remember that after my heartbreak, I made very important piece, Artist is Present, in MoMA, and actually my life changed. And I remember also that her life stopped her career, and her work didn't save her, but me, I'm saved by my own work. And I was thinking that it would be great to make homage to Callas and to do something that nobody in an opera ever think about, to only show deaths of opera. So I took all the deaths that Maria Callas in opera was dying over and over again, and I put in my opera called Seven Deaths of Maria Callas, which was homage to her. And on the end of that, I also play her own death, but mostly like a spirit of the opera, without singing, of course. And all the dresses was made by the wonderful Italian designer Riccardo Tisci, very glamorous, very tragic, and so on. And this opera is only 1 hour and 36 minutes, because dying is much shorter. And because the fact is not 5 hours, attracts so much young audience who never actually came to opera otherwise. They came to see this one. And I play in a wonderful theater in Naples that she actually sings herself, which was incredible for me achievement here in Italy and in many different places. But now here in this exhibition, we actually have a small theater, and then you can comfortably see the Seven Deaths of Maria Callas. I'm always the one who died, and Willem Dafoe is always one who killed me. And I hope the public will enjoy that. It's really interesting to see history of performance art, to see it from futurist, to see it from Fluxus happening, to see it through conceptual art, to see how it's changing in the 70s, in the 80s, how performance completely disappear in the 90s, how reappear again, and so on. You know, my whole life, for 55 years of my career, I spent to putting performance art into mainstream art, and I think I succeeded. Finally, you can see the art in the museums and many other places. Performance art is like a phoenix, comes and goes, and then again born from his own ashes. It's really interesting when the society have the high economy and the art can be very expensive and become commodity, performance art completely disappear. But when the economy go down and it's nothing to buy because it's too expensive, performance appear again. And really the power of performance is directness, also that is immaterial, and the most important is really, when performance is good, is emotional. So the public in this century, I think, is getting fed up of always coming to look something, at something. The public in this century want to be part of something, and performance give them this opportunity. I think this question, every artist will give you different answers. Depends from artist and from their own work and content the work. There's so many artists who doesn't want to put any personal life in their work, and they want inspiration come from something else. And some of them think the personal life is the main actually concentration. I mean, if you take Gilbert and George, he's the oldest couple of artists working and still alive today. Entire day, life is inside the work, and it's no separation. The way how they look, how they dress, how they move, how they talk is all the same. And in my case, my inspiration definitely is my personal life. I really get inspiration from life itself, traveling, visiting different countries, working with different cultures, and then getting ideas and making my work. I think that somehow I need my own personal experience in order to do something. I have to be moved by something, I have to be afraid of something, I have to be terrified, and then I don't like to choose any idea that I like, because it's too easy, and then you repeat yourself. I always like to surprise myself, and I don't like to repeat myself. This is how, for me, it's very hard to put me in any box. After working with opera, every opera house asked me if I will make another opera. I'm absolutely not intending to now make a career doing opera. I'm always jumping out into another box, and then from that box to somewhere else. Never put me in any box, ever.